Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 279. We've got a brand new guest who hasn't been on the show for a while, so I'm looking forward to getting to know him, and we will introduce you to him in just a minute. But before we're going to do what we always do, and we are just going to go around and introduce ourselves, what we got going on, if we have anything to promote, and we will do that. So I'll start it off. I'm Scott. You're on my channel, so hopefully you know who I am, unless DP send you over here, then maybe you don't know. If you do, welcome. There's the other things that you might find on this YouTube channel are a series called Making Comics 101, which is basically a series on how to make comics free here on YouTube. There's about 70 episodes. You don't have to watch them all, but just it will take you every step of how to make comics. So you've got like your basic episodes, and then there's a little quick tip episode, and then a little bit of a deep dive. But it's a really great program, and you can, like I said, you can watch it from start to finish, or you can just go, if I just want to learn about inking or whatever, everything you could want to know about making comics is in there, and I'm really proud of that. So it's probably the best thing that I've done on YouTube, so you can definitely check that out. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I should have pulled this up. I'll have to pull it up in the end, but I've got my new product right now. Currently it's only available on Design Cuts. If you go to designcuts.com, I think it's on the front page. At least it was the last time I looked. It's called the Comic Comic Lettering Masterclass, and it is a digital product for Procreate. If you Procreate users, and if you aren't a Procreate user, eventually I think I'm going to do another version for Photoshop and Illustrator. But if you're a Procreate user, you're making comics on Procreate, and you want to letter your own comics, this has everything you need from lettering brushes, and it actually has a bunch of like different word balloons and balloon tails and caption boxes as brushes that you can use. And it's also really, it's like a textbook on how to letter comics. It talks about the history of lettering comics. It goes into just all the rules and little tricks and techniques, all that stuff, all in one package. So you can go to Design Cuts and check that out. Like I said, if you're watching this close to the time I put that I'm recording this, it should still be on the front page. Otherwise, just look for Circworks on there and you will find it. And so that was a lot, but that's all I got to promote. What about you, Josh?
All right. As usual, I'm going to be promoting Two Stories, which is my graphic novel about faith and mental illness that I handwrite, hand letter, hand ink, and is now available on Amazon for like 60% off, which is crazy. So you guys should go take advantage of that. But guarantee it's a good book. And then outside of that, I have a signing coming up. These are all like in Southern California, Lancaster area. I'm starting in my hometown and then just kind of working my way up towards LA. But so on the 2nd of June, I'll be doing a signing at Basis Cards and Comics in Lancaster, California. So if you happen to be in like Southern California at the tip of LA County, feel free to stop by and get a book or bring your book and I'll sign it. And I'll probably be doing like free drawings and stuff too for people. And I'm hoping stickers are going to come in time. It's looking like the postcards will. So that's pretty cool. And then the next day on the 3rd, if you couldn't make it on the 2nd, in Lancaster, California, I'm also doing a signing of Two Stories at Voodoo Vinyl in Lancaster as well, which is a really cool audiophile record store. And it's kind of an experiment for me because I feel like indie comics and record shops are like two sides of the same coin. So I'm going to try it out and see if that works for moving books. But yeah, if you guys are in the area, feel free to stop by and say hi.
Yeah, you didn't waste any time after getting that second vaccination. You're already out there and making it's just like,
yeah. And awesome. I'm gonna be trying to book them every weekend, so and just different stores and see how it goes. Yeah,
I'll probably have an event coming up. I don't know. I did this variant cover for an Archie Comics that once it's out, I'll probably be doing some signings for that and everything.
Sweet. Is that for the local shop?
Yeah.
They do awesome variants too. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah, and it's a crazy new thing that, or maybe it's not so new. It's new to me, but I've always known about variants, but these exclusive store variants are kind of a new thing. I'm going to do a video talking about it coming up because it's a good way because a lot of people just want to be cover artists, and it's a different channel you can go through that's maybe easier, maybe not. I think but it's just another possibility. So I'll definitely do a video on that in the future. But without any further delay, we want to get to DP, and you've got a big project going on right now on Kickstarter. So you want to tell everyone who you are and what your project is?
Yep, I'm DP Brown. My project is The Theme of Thieves. As you see right on the screen, themeofthieves.com. You can go right there. I have a Kickstarter going on right now for the first issue. It's about two teens and a mysterious time traveler, and they jump through time to try to solve a mystery why people are vanishing in present day. So it's a high concept, a saga type thing where you got these individuals who are basically, the two teens are basically coming of age as they time travel. So it's just a sci-fi twist on like the quantum leap. Think Quantum Leap, think Lost, think The Wire. You put all that in one mix, and you get the Theme of Thieves, basically. So basically, the story is not just about time travel, but it's basically how history affects us, and the ways we might repeat it, if we choose to ignore it. So basically, I'm using those themes to really, using the sci-fi time travel thing to sort of talk about like these themes and stuff. So yeah, right now it's on Kickstarter. You could go to themeofthieves.com, follow the Kickstarter. Make sure that actually I have a free web comic preview right on the site as well. So if you're want to get a gander of what I wrote and what my artist Dan Ekis, he actually drew the comic and everything. You can see what we're talking about and see what the concept is, and I guarantee you're definitely going to enjoy it.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds. I mean, those three pools you talked about. Quantum Leap meets The Wire meets
Lost.
meets oh yeah. Yeah, those are, I mean, all great shows. So I mean, it's
three of my favorites of all time.
Three of my favorite shows of all time, two of my favorite show endings of all time.
I actually haven't. I never watched the fifth season of The Wire. For some reason I stopped, and then I never went back to it. So I don't even know where you can watch that now. And it's on my list. It's on my list because it's always so good. It might have been one of those things where I didn't want it to end.
The fifth season is sort of like one of those seasons where, okay, it's not as great as like the other seasons, but still it's The Wire.
Yeah.
So,
it's the weakest season of The Wire, which is still better TV than most of what's out there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. The writing is still top notch. It's just their weakest season.
Right.
Yeah.
And most people rank that as number one as far as the best
TV show of all time.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to back the Kickstarter. So let's. What I wanted to go in, kind of the topic for today is because, like you mentioned, you're working with Dan Ekis, who we've had on the show a number of times, and I've been on his show a few times, or his channel anyway, and just great guy, great artist, and he's just a working artist, and he does a lot of independent stuff we're big about. So he's talking about the projects he's doing, and one of the projects he's working on is yours. And I'm just kind of curious how that partnership came together. It sounds like you guys are in the same state. I don't know if that was just a coincidence, or if you were seeking out local artists, or how that all worked, and how you and Dan put that.
So yeah, I've been working on this story for about a good couple years now, and it's amazing. Like, when you're coming up with concepts and trying to put something together, you pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down until you're actually to a point where it all just comes together. And through that time, I was trying to visualize how I wanted the story to actually look. I'm a big fan of The Watchmen. And I like Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' nine panel setup and concept.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to get an artist that not so much looked like Dave Gibbons or drawn like Dave Gibbons, but sort of had a realistic, grounded element like a Dave Gibbons. So I ran through, I searched all over like YouTube Instagram especially. You know, you got a lot of Instagram artists out there who like doing pinups, and you were mentioning before covers, but it's not a lot of good sequential artists on Instagram. So I was, but at the point at that point in time when I was searching, I'm sitting up here like, okay, this looks good. I mean, I wonder how he would do or she would do in a sequential type of setting. So I would message them back, and you know, they gave me their rates and stuff, but each time they came back saying that they don't really do sequential type work. You know, they do their pinups, and you know, that's basically it. So I found it a little difficult, at least on the social media aspect, to find a good sequential artist. So started just going to shows. I've already been doing, like, you know, comic book conventions and everything with my other podcasts and everything. We were like promoting our Nerd Cyclopedia podcast. But as I was doing that, I was going back through Artist Row, and of course our artists are displaying like their artwork, and I ran into Dan. So I looked at his stuff and I was like, okay, this looks really unique. And the way he colored his stuff was sort of like stood out. So I looked at it and sort of like passed on by. I didn't really I talked with him, and you know, it was what it was. I saw him again at another convention and we talked. And Dan has a sort of way about him where he's real. You talk with him before and everything. He pulls you in, and he's not afraid to talk to you. One thing about artists, when you're on their aisles and everything, if they're drawing to look down, you sort of like, you wish they would actually sell you a bit, you know, especially if they're out there displaying their work. If you've got, you know, you got a table, you might as well go out and promote your work. But some, you know, just sit up there and draw and wait for someone to come into the table and then talk. You know, Dan wasn't like that. So he was ready to talk and ready to, you know, promote his stuff, and, you know, pulled me in. And, you know, the next convention I went to, you know, he was there, and, you know, I looked at his stuff again, and it's like that we were talking about earlier, Scott. I remembered him. You know, he made an impression on me the first time, you know, when I saw his stuff. And so this time, you know, we talked a little bit more, and I decided, okay, you know, I'm going to see if he can actually do a good 5-page, you know, story for me, because his stuff was looking really good over what he was writing, you know, with his own material. I think it was Odyssey Ink at the time. So yeah, he did. I wrote a 5-page story for him, and he knocked it out the park. And I was like, "Yep, this is the guy for my stuff." So I was hoping that he could do, you know, a whole good 30, you know, plus pages. And sure enough, you know, he said he could, and we've been working, you know, tight ever since.
Awesome. A couple of things you mentioned that I wanted to just expand on a little bit. One was the whole sequential art, and we brought this up before. But if you do want to do comics, I mean, especially if you're just doing what you want to do or whatever. I mean, it sounds like you were kind of looking for artists, but there's a lot of artists out there that are actively looking to find a book to work on or whatever, and they don't have any sequential art, and it's really difficult to. I mean, anyone can, with enough time and patience, anyone can pull off a pretty good pinup, but telling the story is an entirely different thing. So it's so important that you have that stuff in your portfolio. And the other thing, we you know, like you said, DP, that we were talking about before the show, is just being memorable, and also being, I know as artists, and this is something that I've, you know, a lot of artists are introverts. I'm an introvert, but, you know, sometimes you just gotta, you know, I've been doing leadership training, and one of the things we talk about is that comfort zone. You've got this comfort zone that's like here, this box, yet all the things you really want are outside that box. You need to break out of that box, and you need to stretch, because otherwise, you know, you're just not going to get the things you want. I know it's difficult, you know, as an introvert myself, but, you know, and for me, it also kind of started with YouTube. Because when I first started doing YouTube, I wasn't on camera or anything. I would just have my drawings and I talk over a little bit. But I've done it so much that you just get better at it, you get more comfortable. But and that's one of the reasons why when I'm at shows, and it's been a while since I've done one, probably for all of us, but I put out a bunch of videos on just tips for doing shows and stuff. And I talk about this, and one of the reasons why I don't even do commissions at shows, because I don't want my head down at that table.
Yeah.
I want to be able to see the people. And and another thing, I stand up, I usually don't sit down, especially because I've got so much stuff on my table that it's like I look like Wilson in the Home Improvement or something like that.
Yeah.
I've got all this stuff up. So I either stand up, or one thing that I did, I went and bought like a stool, and I had to extend it. I put it was like hollow legs, and I put dowels to extend it to make it higher. So it's almost like if I do get tired, I can kind of sit on the stool, but it's the same height as I was if I was standing. So then when people come by, I kind of slide off of it. But I notice people and make eye contact and all that stuff.
Got to make eye contact.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we always forget as cartoonists and artists the fact that like we're actually a business, and I think it's really good practice, and it improves your sales at your booth. Like my first convention, I made the amateur mistake that like most artists make, where I was just like, oh, I'll just sit and draw, and like people come by and buy books. Yep. And some people did, but then I noticed like I was like, what'll happen if I just kind of treat this like a product, like that I'm selling? Like it's the easiest product to sell because it's the thing you're doing. It's the thing you're most passionate about. It should be an easy sale. And most of us have had to work sales at some point. And it's like, so it's funny that like, if we're getting a bad paycheck, we can sell a potentially not even good product, right?
Right.
For a company that we may not even like.
Right.
But at the same time, like when we're literally representing the work that we poured our heart into, we have trouble selling. So I think that's really cool. I also like the fact that led to work, because I've had that experience too, where like I engaged somebody on, oh man, this was years ago, but I engaged this person at my booth. They didn't end up buying anything. And then like a year later, they hired me to illustrate like 10 books that paid for, at the time, my wife and I were like moving to a different state, and it paid for our whole move. And it's like, you never know who you're meeting at conventions. Right. Scott and I have said this a bunch, but it's like, it's so important to like reach out and make those network contacts, because
and to treat everyone that you meet as if you want to be treated, at 100%. The end of the day, because like you said, it took a year for that person. You could have dismissed him, but a year later, they just hired you for a project and everything. So, and that goes back towards that relationship that you made. That's a sales relationship back in the beginning. It paid off for you further down the line, instead of immediate gratification.
That's good sales strategies, right? Like the bad sales is doing the short term, like high pressure sale that you'll never get a return from, like later on. It's better to do the soft sell, really engage, make relationships. Yeah, that's huge. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's a neat story.
Yeah. So,
and if your product is strong enough and everything, if your product is strong enough, it'll speak for itself. So, just be highly confident in it and just keep pitching it. And, like we were talking about, you got to make them remember you.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm kind of curious. So, obviously you got a chance to talk, and that's a big thing too. I think just the fact that you got to meet Dan in person and got to know him a little better, and before you actually started the project and everything, you get a good feel for who the person is. Where if it's just online, sometimes it's difficult to, is this person going to deliver? Maybe they have great art, but are they going to be able to deliver on time? That's a big thing, and all that. So what? Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say I actually, before Dan, I dealt with a couple other pitch on some other artists I was try to track down and get to do work and everything. And it was a little tough because you talk about online, you lose the context of emails back and forth, and so and sometimes online texting and everything. There was another artist just before Dan I was dealing with, and we were going back and forth through email. I sent him really the same 5-page, story and everything, and wanted him to see if he could do it. And his pinup stuff was, the stuff that he put on Instagram was super good. And he just said he could not do it. and he said he didn't think he could do it. And I tried to pitch him over email saying, oh, yes, you can. I see your work. I mean, I'll put thumbnails, sketches together for you. You follow this. That's all you need to do is just follow this. And, I believe you could be, you could actually do it. And he just said he just couldn't do it. I think he was really scared on that concept. And I think, Josh, you were saying a little earlier, if you got a lot of pinup artists that want to get into the industry, but can't really do sequential work. Give sequential work a chance and don't get hung up on the fact that your pinup stuff makes you the most money or what have you. If you're still trying to break into the industry and wanting to do the sequential stuff, you got to take the chance and experiment with that too, because a lot of us writers, we want some good stuff out of you, and it takes a little bit more work than just the pinup stuff that you always do and post on Instagram.
Dude, that's so important. I've told this story a few times, but it's like I remember a long time ago, I had somebody from Bongo encourage me to submit to Simpsons comics from an indie comic that he had bought at my booth. And it's like it's my first comic, Numb. It's like, if you look at that, it doesn't look like Simpsons at all. It's the weirdest thing. It's like polar opposite in style. And I was telling him well, dude, I don't even have Simpsons stuff in my portfolio. I don't even know what the style guides look like or anything like that. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Every submission we get is just people's bad fan art of the Simpsons. And he was like, they don't show different environments. They don't show that they can show a character in a setting that doesn't look like he's floating on the ground and is moving and be consistent with their turnaround and stuff. And he's like, I don't need to know that you can draw Bart. I need to know that you can draw Bart with a million new characters in a totally different environment that you have no reference for and stuff. And I thought that was really intriguing. And then I saw their style guides and was like, I don't want to work for this company. It's just a nightmare job. I think if you're very mathematically minded, you might enjoy doing those. But it's it did for me. I remembered that pretty vividly because I realized oh yeah, that's kind of a rare thing for artists to actually show their abilities sequentially, because it's a totally different game than it's just doing pinups.
It's it's trying to tell a story, where it's like a pinup. You can basically just copy something, or maybe get an idea from an original photo or something, and just do something in the photo and make it into something a little bit more imaginable. Put a little bit more imagination into it, and then that's it. When you're telling the story, it's a whole different thing. And I wasn't really appreciating it until I actually got with Dan and realized how good he was with his, sequential storytelling, because this is my first comic. I've written stuff before, but I've never written a comic before. Okay. Nice. And I've been in the comic books all my life and everything. And it's sort of coming full circle for me, putting this project together. But yeah, it's the appreciation for artists who can do sequential work. Just can't be understated enough.
Yeah. So here, I'd like to kind of go down this avenue with this being your first book. And it seems like you're doing things right. Because a lot of people, one of the most important thing is that you're actually paying Dan, whereas a lot of writers, it's like, oh, we'll split the profits or whatever. And especially on an unproven book, that's a hard sell for artists, and it's one that I wouldn't recommend any artist doing. So how do you educate yourself enough to know, well, what's fair to pay the artist? How, I want a decent artist on this, and just the fact that, yes, I am going to actually pay you. This is legitimate, and I'm going to have to probably save up to do this, but this is something I want to happen, and it's an investment for me. And not everyone sees it that way.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm a regular guy. I may have a hat and glasses on and everything, but I'm not rich and famous like Alan Moore or Damon Lindelof. I'm just thinking about them off the top of my head. But yeah, I work a regular job. So it was a thing of, I want to do this comic, and I need to save my money in order to get it done. I don't know who I'm going to get it done with. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I got this idea in my head. I need to put it down, save my money, and I'm going to invest in it. And as business period, you have to put something into it in order to get something out of it.
Yeah.
So well, at least for me, I saved my money, wrote my treatment and script and everything, and searched for my artist. And as far as like rates and everything, it's basically just asking around and looking online to see what artists charge for their stuff. And Dan gave me his rates, and I was like, yeah, oh yeah, I like your stuff. Yes, I will work with you and pay you that.
Yeah.
Through the ability of Kickstarter, which is a super great platform for it looks like now comic artists, through like the pandemic, it's been a boom for like comic artists. You can raise money. It doesn't all have to come out of your pocket. So if you have a good idea and concept, you put it out there, you crowdfund it, and have it support what the financial stuff that you already put into it. So you don't have to totally depend on Kickstarter in order for it to get it going. But if you come halfway and people see you come halfway, then they'll put into it as well, and it sort of gives it like a group. That's a great thing about Kickstarter. It gives it like a group effort to put your product and ideas out there. It feels like, and plus they get something out of it too. They're getting a book. They get, man, as far as my Kickstarter, they're getting like t-shirts and stuff depending on where they pledge. Even original work by Dan, he's put some stuff into it as far as like a pledge reward. So it's different tiers that you can go into to help the product come to life.
I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Where I had a question. Where was I going to go with that? No, it's not going to me.
Was it Kickstarter related?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what it was. So the other thing is that your Kickstarter just launched not too long ago, and you previous to that you've been working with Dan, so you've got work done. How far along are you percentage wise the comic book? Because that's super important too when you're going to run a Kickstarter. In my mind, is that you have. It's just not like, oh, we're going to start. If we get funded, we're going to start this, and then I'll pay the artist. But you already have. Some proof, especially it's a first time. I don't know if it's your first Kickstarter, but your first comic. Yeah. So you got to build trust, and if you already have a majority of that book done, you've already built some trust right there.
Yeah, it's a faith thing. So I have to have the faith that if I'm going to put my money into this, I'm going to have to work to make it work. So we've been working on this like a while now. For putting everything together, and we're about like 90% done with the book. So it's right there. We're right at the goal. So the Kickstarter is basically just to keep us to bring us over the goal line, and whatever money that we're raising, for it is going to go to like printing the books and getting the putting in as many hands as possible and everything. And whatever we make over our goal is going to go towards like the next issue. I've already got like about 5 issues already, written out. So basically, and we were talking earlier about the business side and the artistic side, doing the creative stuff is the one thing, and then switching that all the way over to the business stuff is another thing. It's like dealing with oil and water. They don't really mix well together, but they sort of like need to come together in order for it to make it work. Oil is the money, water is like the life that brings it to creativity and everything. So I'm in the oil stage where I'm putting doing the promotions and putting the money into it, doing the business stuff, and I'm gonna have to get back to the creative stuff at some point. But right now I'm in like total business mode, and that's with the getting the Kickstarter out, like I said, 90% done, and just can't wait for this thing to get done so I can get on to the next.
Yeah, I think that's where aspect of the process. I think that works really well, especially for a writer, because I know and it might speak to why it would make sense to collaborate, and because I've always kind of done my own project, write and draw. But the problem is, when I go to promote it, then that's taking a lot of my time. And so if I still have artwork to do or whatever, so the good thing about you is you've got, written the story. So you've got that done while meanwhile, Dan's working on the artwork. And I'm sure there's still some back and forth creatively that you have to do, but you've afforded yourself the ability to focus a little more on the promotion. And then once you promoted it and everything, then you can get back to writing the next issue or whatever. So it seems like it works out pretty well that way.
I mean, it's not Dan's job to promote. I mean, I'm the one that created the thing. So it's my, heart and baby and everything. So it's my job to go out there. I guess that is a good thing about me writing, because I am a control freak to a degree, and I could have took the time to actually draw, because I've done some artwork in the past and everything. But for me to do that, it would take so long for it to get done. So you have to let go and actually distribute some of the work out to other people. So I still got to pay the colorist, I still got to pay the letterer and everything. So I've got lucky with the team that I'm working right now, because they're doing such a great job with something that I just came up with, and I hope it actually resonates with people once it actually gets out there. But I'm confident because of everything that comes back when Dan sends me back his artwork, and he's like, Sam, this is what I this is what I got. I'm like over the moon with it. And Alex, she's our colorist and everything. So she comes back, DP, I got this, and she comes with like the really good, art, color concepts and everything. And then Markle comes through with like the lettering, and all of a sudden you got a comic book. Wow, that's like, wow, you made a comic book. That's like your dream, So it keeps you up night. At the end of the day, if none of this works, I've done my dream, Yeah.
And that's a great way to look at it. But I mean, obviously you've funded, but I mean, that's the minimum goal. You still need to raise money. You still got time to do that, because, but so, I mean, it sounds like the dream's going to happen, but we want it to happen big,
Yeah. The work is never done. Work is not done.
Yeah, and I don't know, there is a little luck in everything, but I think you kind of you have to position yourself to be in the right place and for luck to happen, I think. And that team, I don't think was any accident. I mean, obviously you built that rapport with Dan, you built up that trust even before you started, and I'm sure it was the same way with your colorist and your letterer and everything, which I haven't seen. I mean, from the pages I've seen, everything looks great. So, and it's a great team. But you also have to have that eye, to know what is good lettering, because that's lettering in particular is where a lot of people fall short, because you have the best artwork, and if you don't get good lettering, and a lot of people don't put as much stock in the lettering, which if you have bad lettering, it's going to throw everything off. So, but just being able to recognize what is good lettering, and because I see so much bad lettering out there, and that's one of the reasons why I built that lettering masterclass. But it's such an important thing, and it's kind of this invisible. The point is that you don't really notice good lettering unless you're just somebody like me who just looks at every aspect of comics. But if you don't notice, then it's good. If it stands out, then it's probably probably got some issues to it.
Yeah, for me, it's been definitely a learning process, because I have to admit, I'll be the first to admit, I didn't know all the ins and outs of putting a comic together. I just thought, okay, it would be a great idea to do that. And then you got these different aspects of that's needed in order to get it done, from the artists, from the getting in touch with the colorist and everything, getting in touch with the letterer, making sure all that is working cohesive, make sure everybody is understanding this is what I want, and this is how I want it to come out. And I'm a manager, I'm a producer, I have to navigate everything, so it's more than just, you know, being a writer. I guess the good thing about like a Marvel or DC or even other independent companies and stuff, you know, you're working for them and they have other teams to manage that stuff for you, and all you have to do is just create. So we're on the independent, me just coming as an entrepreneur into this, you know, it's just that, you know, responsibility of you know, just getting your team together. And luckily, you know, I've gotten what I feel like a good team, a good solid team to produce what will hopefully be a great product.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, everything, like I said, everything I've seen before or seen on the Kickstarter looks great. I mean, it speaks to like you as a manager. But I think that's that makes a lot of sense, and I think this is great information for, just because I just think there's a lot of people that just don't know how to. And I get these questions a lot on the channel. It's like, oh, how do I find an artist, or you know, or whatever the case is, or you know, vice versa or whatever. So just hearing how much, you know, you didn't just jump into it. I mean, you thought about this. I mean, you took your time, you know, and you built a good team, and the what's maybe not the finished product, but what we can see the finished product looks like it's going in the right direction. So.
Yeah, hopefully when these like I was at a convention. I just did a Three Rivers convention about a week ago, just this past weekend, and it was the first convention back that I've done since the whole pandemic, you know, happened. So when that eliminated everything, it just gave me a little bit more time to write. So I was good with that and prepare for, you know, the Kickstarter and stuff. But you got the artist tables and stuff. So I guess my advice is, or at least from my understanding, is that doing it online is fine. And, you know, if you can find your artist online, but if you can meet that artist in person by going to conventions and going down that artist row and seeing everybody's portfolio and, you know, work and everything, that's really, and get a person eye to eye interaction with them. That's your best bet right there. You know, and if you're a little bit shy, and like you were talking about, Scott, we're introverts. I'm not going to lie. Us creatives, we're introverts, you know, and sometimes we're afraid to get out there and actually talk and speak. But it's the best, that person-to-person contact is the best way to actually feel confident about the work that you're going to present to them, and for them to give back to you the best as they can.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I was just say it takes a little bit of fake in it too. If we are introverts, because I mean, if I had to guess, I wouldn't peg you as an introvert, but you put on, yeah, but that's the thing. People say the same thing about me. So you gotta, like I said, get out of that comfort zone and kind of put on that persona. And sometimes, like, just as silly as it seems, you know, sometimes the dark shades and the hat works. For me, it's the lab coat. But if you put on that thing, you kind of get in this different mode that, you know, well, I'm not being inauthentic, but I'm kind of putting on a persona as well. And when you can break out of that, because as introverted as I am, like Halloween, I get into Halloween big time. Okay. And when I put on a Halloween costume, you know, I'll do the voice, I'll do all that. I just get into it because it's kind of like I'm outside of me. Because there's nothing to be embarrassed about, because I'm not me. Why should I be embarrassed? I'm this character. So if you can put a little bit of that, that's some good advice that might help you if you are a little bit more introverted. Is just, you know, and even like you know, Frank, who's in the chat, he's got his Captain Goggles persona. You know, so I mean that kind of stuff can kind of help you if you are a little, you know, nervous or whatever. It's just kind of gets you out of that. You know, and embrace your geekiness. I mean, we're geeks and nerds and everything. It was a time where that nerd concept was like like, wow, you know, you don't want to be called that. You don't want to be called a geek, but this is our time right now. So let's take advantage of it. You know, this is our time. This is our time. You know, we're here to take over. That Revenge of the Nerds movie that came out way back, you know, the nerds are going to take over. Yes, it came true. This is our time. So definitely take advantage of it while it's there. You know, nothing lasts forever and everything. So,
you're out there and trying to get that work done. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not going to come to you, but yeah, it's there for us. I mean, this is it.
Yeah, there's also something to be said for like putting yourself in situations intentionally where you're going to be uncomfortable and it. Like, I play music too, just for fun, like with a band, and actually we're super rusty because we haven't played in like a year. We're finally like vaccinated and stuff, so we can hang out and play music again. But like, we're in no shape to play a live show. But the second we have like when we have been tight enough to play live shows, there's always this like, before you step on a stage, or even if it's like a very small like bar show or something and you're playing for like 10 people, you still have this like nerves thing that just kicks in. And there's a moment where you just consciously just kind of step into it. And the second you start and you've stepped into it, it's like you've pressed play and you've just got to do it. Like, and you have to kind of do it confidently, because if not, you're going to bomb. So it's like you kind of have to get in this like flow state. And the easiest way to get into a flow state, even setting up these signings, I've been going to stores in person, and it's a humbling thing, because it's like I make a pretty decent living. I don't need to do comic signings to like go and like sell these things. I just want to, but I don't need to. So my pride kicks in like right before I'm about to step into a store, and I have to like shut it off. And because the fear and the pride usually tie into each other too, where it's like I'll be like, oh well, I don't want to like go in there and like have them like like humiliate myself for like a book when I don't need to, right? But then it's like, the thing is, I do need to. I want to sell more books. And at the end of the day, it's a good experience being humble. It's a good experience. It's actually a good experience getting shot down. And so like, I honestly like, but every moment like that I'm about to step into a store to do that, it's awkward because I'm bringing a book. I know some of them carry Marcosia stuff, but most of them don't. So I'm walking into a store bringing a book, like what an awkward position, because they're a retail shop. Like, so, but you just kind of step into it and then you do it. And then the weird thing is you usually get like really engaged people, and people are really into what you're talking about. And if you properly communicate how much you care about what you're doing, usually you can get people to care. So, but I will say it's all about that like first minute or two of just stepping into it, because it's gonna be awkward. So like, just jump in the pool, like I don't know.
That's me before a convention. Anytime I set up a booth and everything, I get anxiety like, a couple days before, then the night before, then the morning before. And then all of a sudden, the convention happens and I'm out front talking to folks, talking to my peoples. You got cosplayers and different comic books, people coming out, down aisles and everything. So really, this is my group, this is my crowd and everything. And then it begins to be a lot more easier to talk. But I can definitely appreciate and recognize and relate to the anxiety and the nervousness and the awkwardness that comes beforehand, because I get it every time. I don't think it's going away either. And then to overcome that, if the feeling is that much better when you overcome that.
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So you've got the Kickstarter. We talking about all these different hats you're wearing as far as promoting and writing and all that stuff. It's funded, but we want to see it raise a lot more money, and because the more money you raise, the more you can print, the more you can do, and the more you can go out and promote. So what, I know you're probably knee deep in the Kickstarter stuff, but what after you get the books printed and everything, what's sort of your game plan now with the world starting to open back up?
I can't wait to get back into conventions. I mean, I've talked about the nervousness as far as that. I mean, but ideally, I can't wait to get back out there in front of people, and actually talk about the stuff that I created. Because, like I said, this is my first thing as far as a comic book. To actually come out with something that I created from my own brain and actually putting it out there into the world. The next thing is to, print the books, put it in the comic book shops and everything. And, but really especially get back into conventions, because that's something that, I really miss like the whole environment, the whole atmosphere, the cosplayers, the the fellow nerds that are could talk your Star Wars and talk your comic book MCU stuff and everything. That we could just have like conversations, the art and everything, just the whole camaraderie and atmosphere. And I miss all that, so I just can't wait to get it back out there and actually promote the stuff.
Yeah, I was curious. I'm just really curious to see how that kind of getting back is going to play out. But it seems like, like Josh is out there, going to stores and stuff and setting things up. Like I said, like I joked about it, just like right at like pretty much probably the day after he was that 2 weeks out or whatever from his second shot. Same thing with me. I was cleared. I was in that position I think Monday, and it's just like, yeah, I want to get out there. I think a lot of people do. I don't, and just people miss it so much. So it might take a little bit, because I mean, people are still hesitant. But but I think people are just aching to get back to some sort of normalcy. So,
I also really want to encourage like DP, Scott too, and me. Like we should all be really. Let's all share. Let's create a little network of people sharing what conventions are actually open. Yeah, because that's going to be a really hard thing to kind of navigate. And I think the more all cartoonists start sharing that info, like the more we can start redoing, getting back out there too. Because a lot of them have been canceled. I know most in California are just like off the books.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I'm back out here east. Things are just slowly just here in Pittsburgh. I mean, they're having one they're having a Steel City Con in the next couple weeks, and they have another one in August, and then another one in December. So that's three. That's 3 ones here just in the city of Pittsburgh that
nice.
They're already just going to just be up and out. So I mean, some of these conventions, they're just been ready to get back out there, and I think judging by what I've seen at the Three Rivers Con that was outside from this past weekend that I went to, people are itching to get back into it.
Yeah. Have you looked into, and I don't, you said you've done shows and stuff before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of, before COVID hit, I said to myself, I think I'm going to step back from doing conventions. But I'm curious, some of these new conventions that are starting back up, are they like incentivizing people, like dropping rates and things to try to get people in, or is it? I mean, how's that look?
Yeah, so I mean, I get emails and like Steel City Con, for instance, they've given discounted rates and everything for it seemed like the past month. I'm like, this is unusual because they wasn't doing this beforehand. So it's been discounted rates. They sort of coast to people to come in, but yeah, I mean, and as far as what I know, I don't know a lot of other conventions outside of it, because I didn't really venture outside of the Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area to see what's out there. But as far as I can tell, then they're dropping their rates just to get people in.
Nice.
And it's at 100% capacity, and they're saying you can still wear your mask and everything, and whatever you do, whatever you want to do to make yourself feel safe, you can do. And still be able to attend. And of course, there's going to be people, being hesitant and everything, but things are slowly opening up. And by the end of the year, I mean, people may feel a lot more comfortable.
I'm just kind of surprised how soon it's like, it's starting kind of like back, how soon, because that was just like, as long as it took, because in the beginning, we didn't know. We thought, well, this might be like 3 months at the most, right? And then it ends up being a year, but as long as it took, I mean, just how fast things are starting to get back to normal and stuff. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
It's super encouraging. It's funny though, because like I think the first time, I don't know, it was like last week or something, that I got together with some friends. And it was like the first time I'd been like in contact with people who weren't like immediate family, and just being able to hang out and like not wear a mask was like the coolest thing ever. And yet it also felt like really weird. Like I
Mhm.
felt very strange. It's going to take a while, I think, for people to get used to it, and to kind of readapt. And then I also think, like, you know, people have got to be like nice to each other about this stuff too, because you know, even after vaccinations, there's probably going to be quite a few people who still need to wear masks, like literally need to wear masks. Maybe they're like more vulnerable in the population, or, you know, like have other reasons for it. So like, I think as long as we're all considerate for that, especially at conventions, I think it's going to be awesome, honestly. I'm really excited about it. It can't open soon enough, honestly.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about conventions is work your mask into your costume. I mean, there's tons of characters in cosplay.
We're gonna have a lot of Banes.
Yeah, everyone's Bane. Yeah, I actually, because like I said, I just sort of decided that you know, I'd go to conventions and I would, you know, I'd make a profit, but then I started to think, you know, the amount of setup, at least for me, the amount of setup, because I get pretty crazy with my booth setup.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I've got, if you look on my channel, just search Circworks and search like conventions, you'll probably see some of my videos. But yeah, I had a pretty elaborate setup. But
yeah,
I was just like,
he has like a booth space, not a table, like a.
Well, I did. No, I started doing booths. And then I realized that for close to half the price, I could get two tables and have about the same amount of space. So I played around with a few different configurations,
models,
but the one thing what I was leading to was that I think I might just go and cosplay. You know, I got a Khan from Wrath of Khan cosplay, or like Halloween costume that I made. And I put on a bunch of weight, but now I'm losing it again. So if I can get to the point where I can fit in that costume, I might just go and have fun, just as an like, not as exhibitor, but as an attendee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. Get around them. You know, smell the fresh Comic-Con air and everything.
Yeah.
And just have fun. I mean, if that's what you need to do in order to get yourself acclimated and comfortable with it, then do it. I mean, it's nothing better than going to one of those type of, you know, conventions and not having to do any work. You know, you're just there to have fun.
Yeah, that's one of the hard parts of boothing, is like, you'll have people come to your booth with like the coolest thing, and you're just like, where did you get that? Like, and then you're just looking, like, you're selling stuff and like engaging people, and you're looking for that like brief window where you can run across the convention to like get that cool thing. And sometimes you'll run across and the thing's gone, and you're like, oh, it's but I will say it's also fun to go as an exhibitor too. You do kind of see a little bit behind the curtain, and there is like among like nice cartoonists. There's occasional people who get all weird and like super competitive and nuts at conventions, and usually they don't have a big circle of contacts, because that's just something people distance themselves from.
Right.
But in general, like, it's usually very like chill. Like, everybody's pretty like united in like, hey, let's make some sales and move some books, you know? And so it's cool, because you can have, you know, you end up meeting some pretty cool people. I know in like my first 2 conventions I did, I met like 5 of my biggest comic heroes, like literally in like behind the table kind of scenarios, you know, where I was like Ape was the weirdest one, and I still haven't been able to match this. And that was the show I did terribly at, where I didn't prep or anything. But I remember I was sitting at my table, and then I turned around, and like this guy's back is to me, and I'm seeing like he's signing Mouse. And I was like, oh, that's Art Spiegelman. And so I met him, and it was really cool, because I got to like wait for a window and then go, Art, and he's like, and I'm like, I love your work, that kind of thing. Got a picture with him and stuff, and it was cool. You don't like get to, I don't know, like, that to me is one of the funnest things about conventions too. But Scott, also, if you want to downsize more, I'm aiming for half tables. Like, I'm not going to take like a full table. So.
That would be the hardest thing for me to do, is downsize, because I got some. I don't know. You know,
that would be the funniest half table ever. Your table would be just like a pile of a million things, and then mine's like one book.
But actually, it actually might be a good experiment for me, because it's a weird thing that and it's a theory that I've been wanting to test, is that because when I table, I've got my comic, but then I've also got I've got prints, and I've got little science things, and I've just got, tons of different, enamel pins. Just I've got a whole array of different products and things like that. And I've always been, and because of that, I'll sell a bunch of this stuff, but the comics don't always sell that much, because there's so much other stuff, and it's almost like sensory overload. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little curious, if I just went to a convention and just sold the comic, how much more comics I would sell. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I just have that theory that if you just have a comic and maybe a few other things that related to that comic, I think you're going to sell more comics. Because, like I said, me with all my different wares and stuff, I think for some people it's just too much. Like, they don't know what to make of it. Like, what is this? And then it's just like, oh, okay, and then they move on.
Yeah.
But if I know what a comic is, and I've got a real quick pitch for the comic, and I think I could sell more comics if I did that. So maybe that's something I might consider doing.
You could do that experiment with me, because that's literally what I'm going to be doing as I start ramping up, even in stores and stuff. Like I like what you said about sales. That's part of why, like, I'll probably do drawings for people if they ask, like if I have time or am able, but I'm not going to like do commissions, because I don't want to be pulled from like potential sales situations. Right. And that way also, if it's like a free thing, that can be like a loss leader. So it's like, okay,
I'll do that. Josh, I might just commit to that, because I've been in California for in the past couple months. I've been there 3 days, and I'm going back again. So it's not that far of a drive, and I just go there just to hang out with you. And it'd be cool just to hang out at a convention. So maybe we might have to make that happen. Yeah,
I'm trying to see because I was talking to Corey too about potentially doing Salt Lake just for the hell of it, because it like we have family there, and then Corey's there. So I was like, we were actually talking about needing to see if we could get all of us in. The only problem is it kind of aligns with the show season at my work, so. Which I can't take off. So like we're prepping for our own shows. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I got to look into the dates, but I'd be open to like Arizona things and like other things like that too. So it might be kind of a fun experiment.
I haven't heard great things about Salt Lake from an indie standpoint.
Neither have
I. But like we talked about, it might be worth it just to go. But
and the table costs are pretty low. So I was like, I think I worked it out, and I was like, if I split, I'd have to sell 10 books at a 3-day convention. You're basically only selling books. You're not going to have trouble moving 10 books. I don't know.
So if you could get that table cost down and everything, it's worth it in itself just to go. If you got the time to do that.
Yeah, I can tell you the best, and if this was the case, I'd do it all the time. But I got invited as a guest once, where they paid for my table and everything.
That was a rad year, dude.
Green room access, and yeah. So that was nice, and they told me when they gave it to me, they said, well, it's not always the case that we do this, but like I had known friends that had got that same deal year after year, and like. But the next year rolled around and they didn't offer it. So I'm like, but who knows? But yeah. So let's see. We kind of got a little tangent.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's all good.
I get us on tangents.
We're leaving DP in the wings while we're like making plans for conventions and stuff.
I got my own conventions. I have to make plans on the East Coast. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think I want to dive back into a little bit on that sort of working relationship between you and Dan, and how do you, because I think more than just, finding the artist and doing whether you're saving the money. And the other thing I'll just mention real quick on that is that, a lot of people are, hesitant to make that investment, but if you're looking at this, like with you, this is a passion. Like you said, this is something you've been wanting to do. Just like if people don't usually hesitate to whatever their hobby is, they're spending all kinds of money on their hobby. But if it's something that and I don't want to make it just like it's a hobby, because obviously you want to make money off of it too.
Right.
But this is a passion of yours, and
Yeah.
so whether if your passion is to you want to go snowboarding, you drop a bunch of money on a snowboard and all the gear and stuff like that.
And
so
you
why
get
not do
really-
the same with
you get the instant gratification on the snowboarding, but you don't really get any long-term gratification out of it, but maybe to go snowboarding again. But if you save that money, and actually put it into what you're passionate about, maybe you get a little bit more long-term gratification. And I've always been like a patient and long-term type of guy. So this sort of works well for me, in that instance. So it's like you said, you can easily spend your money on like, frivolous stuff that you do every day, or just take the time and just buckle down and say, okay, I'm going to put this aside and actually invest, because you got to spend money to make money. It's an old cliche, but man, does it makes so much sense, because nothing comes for free, and nobody's going to give anything to you either. So, but if someone sees that you're actually putting something into it, you have a better chance of getting a lot more back, from someone. So,
go ahead. Sorry.
I could have easily just said, okay, I'll wait until the Kickstarter happens and then pay Dan to and the other colors and everything to finish the work. But you know how long that would have taken. I got to come halfway with it. Or at least, 3/4 of the way, because I want to get the stuff done,
Yeah.
And like I said,
people are way more willing. People are way more willing to like invest in a Kickstarter where they're actually seeing art, seeing finished pages, seeing that you're serious. Because, there is always this fear with Kickstarter that people have of people who aren't going to fulfill their stuff. And so like being able to show that, and then also have like reputed like artists and colorists and letterers and stuff involved in the project. He's just that actually helps kind of build that trust relationship with your future clients, So I think that's huge. I'm glad you mentioned that. Sorry.
That was the point I was going to make again too. But the other thing, like when you said, DP, that you have to spend money to make money, but it's also true that if you're not investing in something, I don't think you're as invested in the product itself. If you're putting money on the line, you're more apt to make sure that this thing's going to be successful. And if you don't value the artist or whatever and enough to compensate them for the work, and vice versa, if you're an artist working with a writer or however that situation is, that you're not going to get the best work. You've got to value the work in order for other people to value it and for it to be something that people are going to want to pick up.
I think the thing with artists, and that's not just comic book artists, or it's just artists, period, to try to put a value on and then to try to put a monetary thing on artists, it's such a thing a big hurdle. So to try to say, okay, well, I'm going to pay somebody to do something that I could probably do myself for free, it's a hurdle. But time is probably the most valuable thing. It's worth way more than money, because you only got so much time in this long, or depending on how you're living and everything, and the life that you're living and everything. Money is just like, it's a thing, but money is the driver, it's the catalyst to get stuff done. So if you put that respect into that greenback, then thanks.
So
I like it too. Yes. No problem. Yeah, I like the hat too. Thank you. But yeah, if you put that respect into the greenback, you'll get a lot. You get a lot more quality, back from it. So. Yeah. You got to make that investment in order for somebody to really see, because we're not doing this for free. We can do it for free, but how much enjoyment would you really get out of that? At the end of the day.
And actually, just I will also just say you're never going to get worse art than free art from an artist. And you know, unless they're like a complete collaborator on the project, it's something you fully believe in, they help invent with you, right? Like I'm working on something with my sister where she wrote a script. I really like it. I actually want a cut of the like IP if it gets, that's what I'm doing it for. So I just did pitch pages, but it's like, that's just because it's something I believe in. So I didn't mind doing the pitch pages. Right. I've never done that for any other project. But I will tell you, like clients that underpay, like the work's going to suffer somehow. And even if the work doesn't suffer, your relationship with that artist is going to suffer, because eventually most artists start getting better paying clients, and like they're not like, so like giving artists fulfilling work, give them creative freedom, right? And give them clear direction though. Which to me, DP, when you were mentioning you like were willing to do thumbnails for artists, I'm like, that's awesome. Like if more clients, no, seriously, like if more clients were like that, like had a clear vision of what they want, that really helps the artist like actually hit the bullseye, right? Because a lot of times as a visual communicator, you're trying to communicate whatever your client wants you to communicate. And if their communication is unclear, you can ask clarifying questions, but if they're like super clear on it, it's so much easier for you to like, as an artist, like to fulfill your client's needs, and communicate that thing they need to communicate. So I think that's just that, to me, it's everything you mentioned sounds like a really good example of like what to do if you're going to collaborate with an artist. I've done some of my best work for publishers and t-shirt companies and stuff like that when it was really good pay. Even if it was like in a totally different style I didn't want to work in, I would make it the best thing I possibly could. Yeah. But if they were underpaying me, I would be very quick to be like looking for a window to get out of it somehow. You know,
and the other thing,
we're just feeling resentment the whole time, you know?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is also, as it goes for the writer too. If you're a writer and you're really underpaying or not paying the artist, you really can't demand much. You can't, like if they're turning stuff in late, what are you going to say? I mean, what am I paying you nothing for? So you can not turn your stuff in when I need it, you know? So, I mean, if you got money in the line, then yes, you need to deliver if you're the artist. So yeah.
I like when DP mentioned it's respect, you know, like to me, I think that's a good point.
Agreements go a long way too, because I mean, if you're putting money out there, you need to have some sort of agreement. So to put things in writing and sort of like puts things in a legitimacy, you know, perspective and everything. Because you were talking about, Josh, you have opportunity. Artists may have opportunities to go and get better, you know, more higher paying work, and could easily ditch your stuff. And you know, if you don't have an agreement in place and everything, you're just stuck with a half-done project and everything. So that's another thing too. You got to make sure that you got your agreement set.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you're
never do work. Yeah, never do work without a contract. Like I can say, like from an artist perspective, you can end up in a scenario where you're like almost like owned by whoever you're doing the project for. Because technically, like anytime cash is exchanged or money is exchanged, like there's always a legal record of that, right? So whatever is in writing, you're going to be obligated to. So better to have a contract. Contracts are great for like both, like for both the person hiring and for the person doing the work, because it protects both of you. Yep. You know, and ideally, like when it's a good contract and a good relationship, it's like, it's going to serve both parties and kind of protect both people and build trust. So that's cool.
It builds that relationship. You're right. I mean, you build that trust and everything. So I mean, and contracts, I mean, they're written, but you know, you can have flexibility depending on that trust that you have. 100%. Me and Dan have a really good working relationship. So, you know, just depending on how things are go, you know, things don't always come in, you know, when I want, sometimes things come in before, you know, he has it just like, you know, done just like that. And I have to find myself trying to catch up to, you know, to his stuff and everything. So we have a good relationship going on right now. And I'm very appreciative, you know, of what we got going on, you know, so far. And I just say, I just got lucky. I just got lucky. You were talking about earlier of artist interpretation. I'm sorry, artist interpretation of a writer's stuff and doing thumbnails, which I was doing for Dan in the beginning, but he got good. He was like, DP, you don't have to really do this. Let me just, put something out there, and that just goes show you his professionalism. And I had to let go and see what he came up with, and thus it relieved me a lot of stress, so I can actually go and do a lot, some of the other business aspects instead of me having to do like thumbnails all the time for all the all his artwork. And thus he came out with some really good stuff. When you let a person, especially an artist, have his freedom, he could create some really good stuff.
100%. I think the thing that I found cool about it was the willingness to do it. Although, I do agree with you about like giving the freedom is really good for an artist, but like building trust is a huge thing too. And like just establishing, also DP, you seem like a guy who's just pretty clear on what you want. And so that's actually really helpful for a creative. But yeah, I totally agree. If you overly manage a creative, that's where you get kind of stale work because they're actually restrained from working to their best abilities. So it's like that like freeing, like somebody like Dan who's got like some pretty amazing skill at like page design and flow and sequence, like letting him run a little bit is wise. That's really cool.
Yeah. Not everyone's like that. So you just gotta is certain people, individuals you got to stay on top of. Some you don't. So it's just the nature of the business.
I love it.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I was going to go into before we start wrapping it up, was just, and you had already touched on it as far as sort of what that working relationship looks like from a collaborative standpoint, where, you start off by, providing thumbnails and everything. And then it gets to the point where, Dan's like, hey, I got this. And then, so I don't know what kind of like, I'm just kind of curious, like production schedule and stuff, what that looks like. Like, for instance, like timeline. How do you set a timeline? About how many pages do you expect Dan to deliver per week or per month or whatever?
So we pretty much writing into the agreement. Maybe we do like I say I need it done by a certain period of time. He says, DP, I could do it. I could do these 2 or 3 pages in a week. Or maybe 4, depending on his workload, because my stuff isn't the only thing he's working on. He's working on other stuff, so he lets me know. And depending on what I want to get out there, I just have to be flexible with what he can get done. So I mean, to 2 to 3 pages, sometimes maybe even 4, depending on how fast he can work. That's a week, I should say. It just really depends.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's see. And how long, like how big is the book?
The first book is 36 pages. So it ended up being a more pages. It started out as like a 22-page book, but because I write a lot, Dan ended up saying, okay, well, I don't think this is a great thing about what he does, because he took my words and was like, I don't think this is going to work right for the set pages, that you got too many words here. If you want to keep this, we need to expand the pages. Expanded pages, they cost more, but okay, I'm want the product to come out right, to what I envision it to be. So, okay, if this is what you have to trust your artist, if this is what you suggest, then we're going to go ahead and do that. So it ended up being like 36 pages from like 22. And I was able to actually, put a little bit more stuff into it for the pages that he ended up extending. And it just ended up just working itself out. So the pages that he ended up extending, the panels just came out a lot more, a lot better. I originally envisioned this whole thing to be in Watchmen style, 9 panels, bam, 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 and that's it. But no, that wasn't the right way to do it, according to my artist. And thus, when he came out with the artwork, no, I didn't have it the right way. Me, my controlling self, I let it go, and it came back much more. The vision came back even better than what I thought it was.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I can't. I like I said, I'm gonna have to contribute so I can check it out because I love
Appreciate
Dan's
you.
stuff. I got some of the other books that he's put out, but yeah. So I mean, that's what was I gonna? I had a thought that I was gonna run into. Even though, go ahead, Josh. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted, Josh. You're muted or something.
Okay, I thought I undid it. Sorry about that. I was gonna say, like, that's one of the cool things about collaboration, though, is like, you know, for most of us that are like comic people who like making comics, like there is like an element of control to it, like that is really cool, where you can like fully control your creative vision and see the whole thing come to life. But when you're working on like a team project, to get the best out of your team, like, you know, I mean, we've all like, I don't even really watch sports, but I've definitely seen games where, you know, like you have like a star player who just blows a game because they can't pass a ball, you know, like, and it's like, that's the last thing you want to do. Like in a team environment, you want to make sure you're like using everyone's skills for like what they can do. And so I think that's really cool. And what's cool about collaboration in that sense is like, it can enrich the thing and become a whole different thing, but like a better thing. With that, like that give and take, but it does require like a lot of like, okay, I got to let go of control of this, you know? And that's a hard thing to do, but it definitely is rewarding if you're with the right people. If you're with the wrong people, it can be bad.
It just takes that mixture of different, you know, folks. And I mean, in the future, Dan may not be the only person that, you know, I make work with, like, you know, some, you know, other artists, and Dan is spoiling me right now. So I hope to work with him for like, you know, a long time and everything. But you're going to get your, you know, you're going to get your collaborators that aren't as, that's not as lucky, you know. So it's a good thing that I do have like the vision of where I want things to go, because it creates a lot less stress for the people I do hire. So they don't necessarily have to advise me on what I want, you know, because I know what I want, you know. So at the end of the day, I just hope that I have to have the faith that what I want is what the people who are going to get my stuff, that they're going to be satisfied with. So we'll see.
That is so good. That's good too, though, because like, you know, that's the best clients know what they want. You know, that's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, when you were talking about that, when you're talking about the page count and everything, and expanding the story and everything, that there's too much words, and that's the problem I have. You know, as a writer, I've got way too much words for the comic, and it's and because of that, you know, it's really hard, and I do try to fit everything else into that, like a 22-page comic, and I find that, you know, I at certain times I have to either speed something up or cut something out or fill pages. So I think at some point, I think my next project, I'm just going to have to get beyond that and just make it what it is, you know, instead of trying to fit it in there. Because I think I was successful, but it's difficult. And I might even, when I compile everything in a trade, I think I'm going to fill in some blanks and some things that I kind of brush through a little bit.
Do you guys work with editors?
No, I do everything myself. But yeah, well, my girlfriend's a writer, but you know, I've been doing this comic before I even met her. But and you know, now in these last 2 issues, I mean, she would be able to, you know, she could edit and everything for me. So Dan, I'm just giving so much credit to him. He recommended just before we even started this project here that I join a writing group. And I ended up joining a writing group about a year before, you know, we put pen to paper, and they put my stuff. It wasn't even a comic book group. You know, these were like, novelists and everything, and you know, they were writing their own stuff. But this was like one of their first times of, you know, reading a comic book script. But a story is still a story. You got, like, you know, your 3-act structure, and you still got to go through, like, you know, your character building and everything. So they read the script and was able to give me feedback that I didn't really even consider. And I was so appreciative of the fact it's like, you know,
seven different people. And I shout outs to my writing group out there. You guys have done like a wonderful job making this project here, the Theme of Thieves, so you know what it is, or what it's about to be. But I ran the script by them first before I got it to Dan, and they chopped it, screwed it, made me go back and rethink some stuff. Ended up putting it back together, and though that they were essentially my editors, to a degree. And that's what made me feel a lot more confident in putting my stuff out there. Without actually having like a said editor. So that's what that's the reason why I asked that.
No, that's brilliant. I do both. I have an editor, but I'm doing it with an indie, so they're pretty much just like, okay, is it in signatures of 4? Okay, cool. Like that's kind of the feedback I'll get, and maybe it's like cover stock conversations or something, but. I also have like trusted like family members and friends that are like the no bullshit people who also are English nerds and writers. And that is huge to have that go over your script, because they're going to catch like grammatical issues. They'll catch like story beats. They'll catch like one of my good friends told me that my second volume was failing the Bechdel test, and I was like, "Crap!" Which is like flat female characters, like with no depth, who are just there to service a man in the story.
Right,
and I was like, "Oh crap!" Okay, so I had to revise it and give a little more complexity to those characters, because I want this to be an enjoyable book for everyone. Like, and so. There's a lot of stuff like that, but like, getting editorial feedback is huge. And, and like, I think in writing groups, usually it is like a saying that it's like your first draft is just sort of like, it's just like spaghetti at the wall. So your real writing comes in like third or fourth draft.
Right.
Like,
yeah. It took me about 4 or 5 drafts to get to where I'm at right now. So definitely. I mean, I guess if you're a writer, join a writing group. It'll be the best thing for you. Or if, like Josh was saying, if you got feedback, no bullshit people, that'll give you honest feedback on your stuff, then I mean that counts for something as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're getting close to about that hour and a half mark. So is there anything that we didn't touch on, DP, that you wanted to mention? I mean, obviously we'll get another chance to plug the book and the Kickstarter and everything, but anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to? Or
I mean, definitely appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, this was a great conversation. I love conversating about like the process. The process it's a fun process of the collaboration between, writer, artist, colorist, and, letterer, and just creating the gumbo, getting everything into the soup, into the pot and everything, and cooking the good soup, and, having it just taste good at the end and everything. Well, and serving it to your people, to see if they like it. Comic books is has been my passion my whole life. And it was something that was disrespected for so long. And I feel that today, especially in today's environment, it's had its most respect. It hasn't been much more respected than it is today. Comics is and just nerd culture is finally at that point where we just got to take advantage of it. It's here. And a lot of people are just giving that just respect, and the kids that are growing up on this are going to keep it just keep it going and everything. So keep reading comics.
Yeah, that's a good way to end it. So Josh, what do you got going on? Anything you want to promote?
So just 2 stories. My graphic novel about faith and mental illness, that's hand lettered, handwritten, and hand inked from Marcosia Enterprises, and you can order that on any online bookseller. But I'm pointing people in the direction of Amazon because it can save you guys money. It's like, I think like, I don't know, something like 60% off right now. So save some cash.
Gotta check that out.
Awesome. And DP, what about you? One more time, Theme of Thieves. What's it about? Where can they get it?
themeofthieves.com. So basically you can go on there and check out the free preview. It's a free preview of the web comic. You can actually go on there, check it out before you buy it, or before you try it, and see if it's something that floats your boat and everything. If it is, definitely go to Kickstarter, and you will get some really good pledge tiers. We got like the comic itself, t-shirt tier. We got like a signed variant cover. I even did like a soundtrack to like the first issue. So if you like some good music and everything, go on there, check that out. In a couple of the pledge tiers, you get like free songs and stuff. So I'm running like the whole gamut as far as that. But if you like time travel, if you like sci-fi mystery, if you like shows like Quantum Leap, Lost in the Wire, I've got that cover for you guys. And basically I'm using these concepts to talk about themes of like history and why we look at things in the world, and if we ignore history, we'll be doomed to repeat it. So
awesome. All right, I was trying to wait on this thing, but I accidentally threw it up by accident. Let me see if I can pull this back up. So I just wanted to show you guys what I got to promote. So yeah, here. So this right here, the Comic Lettering Masterclass, you can find that right now. It's on sale. It's on Design Cuts. I'll just kind of go through here real quick, see if it'll upload, give you an idea what it includes. So like a 100-page Procreate course. 12 lettering brushes, 100 balloons, solid and outline brushes, balloon tails, caption, all this stuff. I'll just kind of flip through here so you can kind of get an idea. But there's all of it's based on like real, stuff. Like here's these are just all the little tips and things and kind of rules for, create or lettering comics. There's these sound effect grids so you can lay out your sound effects, same thing with the title, titles and logos. Here's, there's all these different brushes in the shapes of balloons and bursts and balloon tails, and caption boxes. There's actually a font in there, cap and lowercase, which there's not a whole lot of comic book fonts out there that have the lowercase. You don't always use the lowercase, but it's nice to have it for certain situations. And then all these guides that are actually ruled out with the Ames lettering guide. And it's, so just to give you an idea what's there. So that's what I got to promote. And like I said, you can get that at let me see if I can go back here on Design Cuts right now. And yeah, so besides that, let's see, that's about all I think I'm going to promote today, other than this show that we do here, the Artcasters. We do this show every single week. And it is usually on a Thursday night, but that can change sometimes. And it bounces back and forth from Josh's channel to my channel, then mine again. And we always have a different guest in, a different topic. So it can be a little confusing. But if you want to know exactly what's going on, the easiest way to do that is join our mailing list. We don't spam you or anything like that. There's a link in the description of this video. Click on that link, join the mailing list. In about 30 minutes, usually before we go live, we will send an email out with a link and telling you about who our guest is going to be and all that stuff, because YouTube doesn't always notify people. So that's probably the best way to do it. So definitely check out the mailing list. And yeah, once again, I just want to thank DP. I want to remind you to go to his Kickstarter. There is a link in the description of this video for that. It'll take you right to there. Also check out themeofthieves.com. You can get to it from there. Check out what he's doing. And yeah, thanks again. And I wanted to thank everyone in the chat. Thanks for tuning in and
thank you.
Keeping this thing going. And yeah, we will see everyone next week with I think we already know who our guest is going to be. So
yeah, Kevin Cross.
One of the original Artcasters. We've had a few roster changes, but yeah, it's been a while since I've talked to Kevin, so looking forward to that. So definitely don't want to miss that. That'll be on Josh's channel. And like I said, join the mailing list, link in the description, and you'll be notified when that happens. Again, yeah, thanks DP, and thanks for reaching out, and thanks for
thanks for having me on. Josh, I definitely appreciate it.
That's really cool.
Yep, absolutely.
And thanks for keeping Dan busy.
Dan the man.
Yeah. All right. We will see everyone next week. Later.